Ayo, what is up, AKAPADers? Welcome to the AKAPAD Audio Audacity Podcast. That's me. I'm your host, another known as Peter A. DeLuca. We're not hiding behind any monikers. I don't have any alter ego. Maybe my alter ego is AKAPAD because he is just way more lit than myself. But hey, in this episode, we're talking Amazing Spider-Man 2012. If you like it or not, it's go time. People hate this movie. I do not. We're going to discuss it. Let's rock and roll. Hit that intro. Yeah, it's Friday. It's Friday. It's midday. So my morning literally blew up. But before we get into that, because I'm going to tell you how and why, and we're going to talk about Amazing Spider-Man 2012. If you don't follow me on Twitter, if you don't follow me on Instagram, if you don't follow me on Snapchat, if you don't follow me on Facebook, you're missing things, okay? I put out so much content, and even what you're listening to now, there's supplemental things and thoughts and even corrections and transit of mental fortitude around some of these subjects that I discuss, and sometimes it's the personal stuff. Now, the personal things is one of the reasons why I switched the podcast. The podcast previously, if you scroll down, it's Dream Warriors. I don't even know the previous name of this podcast. That's why I kind of changed it. It was to evolve it into a little bit more of personal and self-help. And I do believe even these last two episodes of the Audio Audacity podcast do kind of run into self-help and self-improvement, because the lesson to be learned, okay, is, like we don't take things for granted. Don't just acknowledge, don't just swallow like a spoonful of information. Like, explore the world yourself, because these two movies, okay, Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, 2012 and 2014, both directed by Mark Webb, both starring Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, both kick ass, both well made, well thought out, well executed, both really good with the world building, both littered with characters that they can use for a decade forth. But they were labeled, okay? They were labeled and trashed. So at this point, everyone just moves on from them. They forget them, and they just disappear in the halls of forgetfulness. So much of life, so much real information of life is this exact same scenario. Things you think aren't possible are. Things you think would take time doesn't. Stuff you think you can learn, you can. Time and time again, I am teaching myself this lesson. And that was part of the huge revelation I had while watching Amazing Spider-Man 2 2014, starring Andrew Garfield, directed by Mark Webb. Look, people, I'm talking to you, and I'm reaching through the sound waves. And I'm trying to bring you on a similar journey that I was on. Okay, see, my journey went from super geek, super collector. This is way before any of this stuff became chic. This is before social media had people boasting about their collections, and a lot of those groups, like, because I'm a part of some of them on Facebook, that's all these guys do, is just post pictures of what they have. No, okay, but that was me in my pre-teens. I already did that. I already had a bedroom looking like that, okay? And I was so embedded into it, to even then, like, what could loosely be called a culture, maybe. And I dedicated myself to learning the craft, and I got so burned out by it, so disinterested, so jaded, that I pulled myself out of all of it and became a reader, became a gym goer, became a corporate guy, and did all these things I really thought were unattainable, because someone with zero college education, with zero training, no one even taught me how to do this podcast. Like that's the person behind all of this. That's me. And then I slowly got back into it. And when I got back into it, there was like all these things to explore, and I was actually able to sit down and absorb this content and some of this material in a totally different light. Okay? A lot of where you are and the reason why you're not balanced is because of that. It's because you think you're locked in. You think you can't learn and do on your own. Look, people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them I've never been to college. They immediately ask me, Pete, what school, like what university, what's your alma mater? I'm like, I don't know, Highland High School, 97, New Jersey, represent. Yeah, so let me tell you about my that's a little bit of the self-improvement, but let me tell you about my morning. So my mornings usually start with me shooting up from the couch, because sometimes I'll sleep on the bed. Mostly I sleep on the couch, and I dash to the drawing table to complete the previous night's work. Now this time around, it's just character drawings, character shots of my Indiegogo, Trial by Fire. That's the name of it. Be on the lookout. We're going to be doing episodes and content all around TBF. And, I get a message. I get, like already on my agenda, I have eBay to ship, and I have a podcast to record. I already have a video to edit, because last night I ate Burger King tacos, rock and roll. That's one of my newest YouTube vids. And, I already have a stacked morning. And, this is all around the 9 to 5. So the 9 to 5 shoots me a message, asks me if I can go up to 40th Street, which is a major hike for me, okay? I have to time the Ubers. I have to, it's just this thing. And I have to wait for a delivery, because this guy, I'm pretty sure he screwed up. He was supposed to order a laptop days ago, and it never came. Like Tuesday, it's Friday now, and I feel like he just had to order it. I think he forgot. I think he was mistaken. So I have to go wait for this laptop, and I'm just hooking someone up. All the while, on the other end of town, I gotta give someone a monitor, and those two things, my day's over. But it's a logistical nightmare. So he hits me up at 9 o'clock in the morning, okay, when I'm already have these other things going, like other momentum. I would have shifted things around if I knew what was on my agenda. So with that being said, that's my morning, and this is a part of it. I'm not doing anything for the 9 to 5 until this is done, because I feel like you have to respect my time. You have to respect, my availability and my scheduling, and when you don't, you forfeit. You forfeit anything immediate. Now, there is one person, the big guy, the guy that runs the show. When he needs something, I move. But that's it. Hey, there's only one master. But yeah, so talking about this movie, oh my God. So I said previously that at the beginning of Amazing Spider-Man, I was under the impression that Amazing Spider-Man 2, the beginning of that was the beginning of Amazing Spider-Man. That's how cool of a beginning that was. That's how engaged and wrapped in I was. I thought I was watching the wrong movie. Sorry, we also have roof work happening. So, it's just nuts. The Audio Audacity studio is in complete chaos right now. And I have Dallas patrolling, because whenever I sit here, Dallas is under the impression he's going to be fed. And, Dallas and I were always in a duel of food for him, because he never seems to be able to get enough. Okay. Yeah, so I had such a great experience with Amazing Spider-Man 2. My whole impression was to eventually get back to Amazing and Amazing 2, post, Homecoming, calls, all this run here. It's all about, it's all stemming from Homecoming. And I just saw Homecoming this past Wednesday, a couple of days ago. And, that's the next episode. That's Audio Audacity 2011. So I get into this movie. And I completely like I forget like I forgot so much, and I was in another like realm of like not understanding what was bad about it and what do we not, like what's not happening here, because this movie still has all the beats. I mean, Gwen Stacy looks like Gwen Stacy. It doesn't have the Daily Bugle, and this is the beginning of the playing of the Spider-Man mythos. But it has like it has Uncle Ben. It does. It has the beginning of the aging of Aunt May, where Holly Hunter or Holly or I'm forgetting. I'm brain fart on who plays uh, Aunt May. Who plays Aunt May in this? Sally Field. I'm sorry, Sally Field. And Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben is masterful. Okay, so this movie has a good cast, and everyone's good in it. This movie has incredible music. This movie has awesome special effects. It's well shot. It's beautifully designed, and it has some kick-ass action sequences. Like at the end of Spider-Man: Far From Home, the last like 10 minutes, maybe not even 10, last 5 minutes. Finally, we get Peter Parker swinging through New York City. We get Spider-Man swing. So we go through 2 movies, 5 appearances of this character. 5 appearances. And we finally get Spider-Man swinging through skyscrapers. Okay? 5 appearances. This movie has maybe like the best swinging, like just design, intent, like thought through process that we'll probably ever see. And the one big thing I forgot about this movie that I absolutely love, I love it, people, is the texture of the Spider, like of the spandex. It's so cool. It's almost like it's almost like a sports jersey, because it has those divots, and it's just like dirty. It's so freaking interesting. It just reminds me of a McFarlane toy, and how they would like smear ink on a lot of the detail to like make it pop. So this is more of a teenage like angst teenage drama movie, and then like we approach like the midway mark, and we get our our villain, the Lizard, Dr. Connor, who was teased in like 3 previous movies, and everyone was really upset that Sam Raimi didn't follow through with that, because they were setting Dr. Connor up from Spider-Man 2002. But now we have Dr. Connor, and we have a really good setup, and we have a really good, by setup I mean he works at a place, he does these things, he's already missing the arm, like he has the facilities, he has the knowledge, he's the type of guy that has means. And we set up like the motivation, and so essentially like Dr. Connor just wants to turn New York City into a it's tough to say like a city of lizard people. That's his plot. It's weak, it's not good. But then again, I'm also watching a comic book movie, and I have to remind myself of that. Peter, you're watching a comic book movie. It doesn't matter who cares. It really doesn't matter. So, and that's really like how I feel. Like I can forgive a lot, because this movie is just it's just a comic book, people. We don't have to get too serious, but like, does it pay off? Like, is the Lizard's motivation any different than or better than the Vulture or Mysterio? From the newer films. I don't know. I think all of these movies, the highlights are the villains, and I think the villains are better than Spider-Man. And that's usually like in the comics. That's the it's the same scenario for The Dark Knight. The villains always outshine the hero. That's why the 2 of them are as great as they are, because of the Rogues Gallery. And I don't know, like if we go through like all the villains, and I say like the weakest one of the entire grouping is really Venom in Spider-Man 3, because you just don't it's just not there. You don't spend enough time. But Sandman is great in that, and I would kind of like Green Goblin 2 just needs a lot of work. I mean, Green Goblin 2 and Venom are like a race to the bottom. Spider-Man 3 really didn't have developed villains, and that's probably the reason, that movie just didn't land. But yeah, so Dr. Connor just wants to turn everyone into a lizard thing. And Peter Parker needs to stop. So that, we're hitting the final run, of the movie. We're hitting the third act. And there's this rooftop battle sequence with a falling tower that is just insane. Going into that, there's this awesome sequence where Spider-Man just gets his ass beat. Now, always remember, Peter Parker is supposed to be beat up, and he's supposed to keep going, okay? That's why he's the greatest of them all. He's better than Iron Man, he's better than Thor, he's better than Captain America, because he can take a licking and keep on ticking. Yeah, and, it's corny. It's corny. It's New York camaraderie type corny. But the Dennis Leary, who plays Gwen Stacy's father, Captain Stacy, is helping Spider-Man, and he radios to like all of these work cranes, okay? And if the cranes align themselves a certain way, he can swing to Oscorp, the tower. And this movie does an incredible job of building up Oscorp, really does. And we really don't even see Harry Osborn, okay, or Norman Osborn. We don't even see Harry Osborn. We see him in Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, and it's just this cool sequence of him like swinging through this, valley in New York, only with these giant work cranes on the top of buildings, while having his leg just like shredded. Now, and a lot of people criticize this movie because the father has like this underground lab thing. Who cares? I mean, again, I'm watching a comic book, okay? It's a subway lab thing. Like, how would he build that? How would Like, I don't know. I mean, have you ever hung out with like a genius, like someone that is just on a level, just smarter than you? I mean, but I'm talking like on every level, and they've had like years of being smarter behind them, and but they know and how they're resourceful. It spins your head, and it makes you feel like shit. It makes you feel like garbage. It does. That's what hanging out with a genius does. So, if we're going to say these characters are geniuses, I feel like, that's a pretty good out. It's a pretty good out. But yeah, and Spider-Man fights Lizard, wins, and like I said, along the way, we just have, the Lizard gets defeated, and then along the way, we have like the death of Captain Stacy, Gwen Stacy's father. We have Peter Parker not going through with his like relationship with Gwen because he made a promise to the father, and we're back to the teenage angst. The angst in this movie, Peter Parker and Aunt May like trying to figure things out, and she's seeing things in him, and like he's isolated and he's lonely, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's trying to figure it out, and he's caught up in something over his head. I don't think we're going to get a Spider-Man movie that nails it as well as this one. Far From Home just tried it and it wonderfully failed. Far From Home, by the way, is one half of a movie. That movie is horrible for the first 60 minutes. It's really bad. Just because I don't like a lot of the supporting characters. I really don't. But, that's next episode. That's All the Audacity 2011. But yeah, and I sit down and I'm wrapped into the melodrama. I'm wrapped into the teenage angst. I'm wrapped into him not being able to figure anything out. That's the strength of the Amazing Spider-Man. And then all this other stuff. I mean, the fight scene between him and the Lizard in the school in the school hallway, with the Lizard just like slashing lockers and just splitting them in half. It's oh my God, like how does that not fire the imagination and excite you? And I'm going to go right back to it because it always cycles here. If you can't sit down and enjoy a movie like this, There's other things cooking, like in you that is preventing that. And one of those things that's cooking, that's preventing that, is what you already think about the movie and what you think you are. Okay, what, like you're all of a sudden you're running a studio and you know exactly why that movie turned out the way it did, or why this and why that, and all these what ifs and hypotheses run through your head as you're watching the movie, instead of you sitting down and enjoying the movie. Right, exactly. See, nothing would ever be good ever if that's how we all sat down to read a book, watch a movie, look at a painting, walk through a museum. I'm sorry. I think people that criticize this movie are absolutely wrong, and they're high horse, and we don't like that around here. We don't like that around the Audio Audacity podcast. But look, everyone, I recommend Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Watch them over the weekend. Just enjoy them. You can pick them up on Amazon Instant. They're still $8. Spend $20, get them both, get some popcorn, invite some friends over, invite a lady over. I'd rather you invite the lady. Get the lady there, or whatever you like, but get the lady there and rock and roll. Until next time, until AKAPAD's Audio Audacity 2011, because we're doing Spider-Man Far From Home, finally, our long-form study of the cinematic Spider-Man comes to an end, and it's guns blazing. But hey, rock and roll, I love you, and go out and create.